My name is Rachel Morgan, and I'm 31 years old. 3 years ago, my sister Victoria posted a photo of my 2007 Toyota Corolla on her Instagram story with the caption, "Some people really need to learn what self-respect looks like," followed by 3 laughing emojis. The photo had been taken at our parents' anniversary dinner, my car parked next to her brand new Range Rover Sport, the contrast apparently too delicious for her to resist. I didn't comment. I didn't text her. I just screenshot it, saved it in a folder, and kept driving my car. What Victoria didn't know was that 3 years later, I'd be standing in the VIP lounge of the most exclusive dealership in Miami, signing papers for a car she'd never be able to afford, while she sat in the waiting area downstairs, there to pick up her 3rd lease in as many years. Before I tell you what happened when she saw me walk out with those keys, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story hits different for you. Where are you watching from? And what's the most judgmental thing a family member has ever said about your car, your clothes, or your choices? Drop it in the comments. Let me take you back to the beginning. Back to when I realized that sometimes the people who judge you the loudest are the ones most afraid of what you might become. Growing up in the Morgan family meant understanding a very specific hierarchy. My father, Robert Morgan, built a luxury home development company from the ground up and retired at 59 with enough money to spend his winters in Naples and his summers in the Hamptons. My mother, Catherine, had been an interior designer for high-end clients before marrying my father, and she'd never quite let go of that world of designer showrooms, imported furniture, and the unspoken competition of who had the better aesthetic. My sister Victoria, older than me by 5 years, had always been the golden child. She married Connor Blackwell right out of college, a guy whose family owned a chain of boutique fitness studios across Florida. Connor was fine, I guess, in that CrossFit-obsessed, protein shake for breakfast way. He wore designer athleisure everywhere, talked about his macros constantly, and had opinions about superfoods that nobody asked for. Victoria became a real estate agent specializing in luxury properties, and together they formed this united front of judgment disguised as concern. Victoria's Instagram was a carefully curated museum of wealth signaling, the Hermès bag casually tossed on her passenger seat, the Cartier bracelet catching the light in her steering wheel selfies, the annual lease upgrade, always luxury SUV, always posted with some caption about treating yourself or knowing your worth. Her most recent car, that Range Rover Sport, had been her 4th lease in 6 years. She'd posted 52 photos of it in the first month alone. Then there was me, Rachel, the younger sister who didn't quite fit the family portfolio. I drove a 2007 Toyota Corolla with 194,000 miles on it. The silver paint had faded to almost gray. There was a dent in the driver's side door from a shopping cart incident in 2016. The interior smelled vaguely of the lavender air freshener I kept replacing. But here's the thing nobody in my family seemed to care about. It was paid off. It ran perfectly. And it cost me almost nothing to maintain. I wasn't driving it because I couldn't afford better. I was driving it because I'd made different choices about what mattered. After college, I'd taken a job at a fintech startup in Miami, working in software development. The pay was modest at first, but I had equity. While Victoria was signing her 2nd car lease, and Connor was buying investment properties with family money, I was putting 65% of my paycheck into index funds, maxing out my Roth IRA, and learning everything I could about the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. My apartment was small, 580 square feet in a neighborhood my mother described as transitional, which was her polite way of saying, not good enough. I didn't have marble countertops or a chef's kitchen or any of the things that seemed to matter so much at family gatherings. What I had was a savings rate that would make most financial advisors cry tears of joy and an investment portfolio that had been quietly compounding for 9 years. By 28, I had a net worth that exceeded my parents' liquid assets. By 29, I'd reached my first million. By 30, I'd quit my corporate job entirely and was living off dividends and consulting income, spending my days however I wanted. And through it all, I drove that same Toyota Corolla. Because here's what I'd learned. The people who needed you to know they were successful were usually the ones drowning in debt to maintain the appearance. And I had no interest in drowning. The judgment didn't happen all at once. It accumulated slowly, like mold in corners nobody bothered to clean. Thanksgiving 2021. I pulled up to my parents' house in Coral Gables, my Corolla looking particularly humble next to the parade of luxury vehicles already lining the circular driveway. Victoria's Range Rover, Connor's Porsche Macan, my father's Mercedes S-Class, my mother's BMW X7, and then my car, like a rescue dog at a purebred show. I found Victoria in the kitchen, arranging a charcuterie board she'd clearly ordered from that overpriced gourmet shop in Brickell. She looked up when I walked in, her smile tight and practiced. "Rach, you made it. I almost didn't see your car out there. Blends right in with the landscaper's truck." She laughed, but the edge was unmistakable. "Still gets me where I need to go," I said, grabbing a sparkling water from the fridge. "I'm sure it does." She arranged some fig jam with surgical precision. "But don't you think at some point it's just sad? You're almost 30 years old. You have a tech job. What must your coworkers think when you pull up in that thing? I actually left that job 6 months ago. I'm consulting now." Her eyes lit up, but not with happiness. With concern. The kind of concern that feels like condescension. "Oh, Rachel. Did you get laid off? Honey, you should have said something. Connor knows people. We can help you find something stable. Maybe that's why you're still driving that car. You're worried about money." I quit, Victoria. And I'm not worried about money. She laughed again. That particular laugh she'd perfected in sorority. The one that said she knew better than you. "Right. Well, if you need help, just ask. That's what family is for. I mean, we've all been there. Starting out is hard." Connor walked in at that moment, protein shake in hand like a security blanket. "What are we talking about?" "Rachel's career transition," Victoria said. And something in her tone made it clear this wasn't the first time they'd discussed my life. Connor nodded with exaggerated sympathy. "Tough market right now. But hey, you're young. You'll figure it out. Took me a few years to get on my feet, too." He glanced out the window at my Corolla. "Though I will say, image matters in business. First impressions, you know? Maybe think about upgrading the wheels. I know a guy at the Mazda dealership. Entry-level stuff, but better than..." He gestured vaguely toward my car. "I'm good," I said. "Just think about it," Victoria added, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "It's not just about you. It reflects on the family when you show up places in that. Mom mentioned it to me last week." I set down my water carefully. "Mom talked to you about my car? She's worried about you. We all are. You're capable of so much more, Rachel. Sometimes it feels like you've just given up." That's when I understood. Victoria wasn't concerned about me. She was embarrassed by me. My refusal to play the game she was playing, the game of impressive leases and financed luxury, made her uncomfortable. Because if I could be content with less, what did that say about her need for more? Christmas that year was worse. I'd saved for months to buy my father a restored vintage watch he'd been hunting for. When he opened it, his face actually lit up with genuine joy. "Rachel, this is incredible. How did you even find this?" Before I could answer, Victoria's voice cut through from across the room. "Probably sold her car to afford it." She laughed. Several cousins laughed with her. Kidding. But seriously though, Rach, maybe next year skip the extravagant gifts and get yourself something with working Bluetooth. My car's Bluetooth worked fine through my phone mount. She knew that. But the comment landed the way she'd intended it to, and suddenly everyone was looking at me, at the girl who drove the old car, who lived in the tiny apartment, who clearly wasn't measuring up to the Morgan family standard. My mother, always eager to smooth things over, jumped in. "Victoria, that's enough. Your sister is very sensible with her money. Not everyone needs to lease a new car every other year." The way she said sensible made it sound like a participation trophy. Like I was a child being praised for coloring inside the lines, even though everyone else had moved on to painting. But the final straw, the moment that crystallized everything, came 6 months later at my parents' anniversary dinner. They were celebrating 35 years of marriage with a dinner at Cispus, one of Miami's most exclusive waterfront restaurants. the kind of place where the waiters know everyone's name, and the bill could cover my rent for 2 months. I showed up in my Corolla, which by this point had rolled over to 198,000 miles. I parked it with the valet, tipped generously, and walked inside. Dinner was lovely. My father gave a speech about partnership and perseverance. My mother cried elegantly, mascara miraculously staying perfect. Victoria and Connor looked like a magazine spread, her hand resting on his arm, both of them glowing with that particular smugness that comes from feeling superior to everyone around you. After dinner, we walked out together. The valet line was long, and there was a moment of choreographed chaos as luxury vehicles appeared one by one. Victoria's Range Rover came first, white and gleaming under the restaurant's lights. She made a show of tipping the valet with a $50 bill, clearly visible to everyone watching. Then my Corolla pulled up. I heard Victoria before I saw her face. That laugh. That specific cutting laugh that could slice through any moment. "Oh my God, it's still alive," she said, loud enough for the entire valet area to hear. She pulled out her phone, snapped a photo of my car next to hers. The contrast almost comic. "This is too perfect." "Victoria," my mother warned, but her tone carried no real conviction. "What?" "I'm just saying it's honestly impressive that thing hasn't died yet. Most antique dealers would pay good money for a specimen this well-preserved." Connor laughed. Other diners turned to look. The valet kept his face carefully neutral, but I could see the second-hand embarrassment in his eyes. I got in my car and drove home. And when I parked in my apartment complex 45 minutes later, I checked Instagram. There it was. My car parked next to hers, with that caption. "Some people really need to learn what self-respect looks like." The post had 63 likes already. I recognized most of the names. Family friends, cousins, people from her real estate agency. In the comments, people were making jokes, asking if that was really someone's daily driver in 2022, suggesting I must be financially struggling. One comment stopped me cold. It was from my mother, just 2 emojis, a laughing face and a face palm. My own mother, laughing at me, publicly. I sat in my car for a long time that night. Not because I was hurt, though I was, but because I was making a decision. If my family wanted to judge me based on the car I drove, fine. But they didn't get to know who I really was. They didn't get to know about my 7-figure portfolio, my dividend income, my financial independence. They'd made their choice about who I was supposed to be. Now I'd make mine about who they'd never know I'd become. I screenshot that Instagram post, saved it in a folder I titled Receipts, right next to all the other moments of judgment I'd been collecting. I didn't know then that I'd need them. I just knew I wasn't going to forget. The only person in my family who saw through it all was my cousin Maya. She was 25, fresh out of grad school, working at a startup in Fort Lauderdale and trying to figure out life. We'd always been close. And unlike the rest of the family, Maya had this way of asking real questions instead of making assumptions. We met for coffee 3 days after the anniversary dinner. She'd seen Victoria's Instagram post. "That was brutal," she said, stirring oat milk into her latte. "It was honest," I replied. "At least now I know what they really think." Maya was quiet for a moment. "Can I ask you something? And you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Go ahead. Why do you still drive that car? I'm not judging, I'm genuinely curious. You're smart. You have a tech background. You could afford something newer if you wanted to. So why don't you?" It was the first time anyone had asked the question without judgment embedded in it. "Because I'm building something," I said. "Every dollar I don't spend on a car payment or full coverage insurance or premium gas is a dollar that's working for me. I'm not sacrificing anything by driving that Corolla. It gets me where I need to go. It's reliable. It's practical." Meanwhile, Victoria's in her 4th lease in 6 years, probably paying $800-900 a month, plus insurance, plus gas for a car that's depreciating every second. In 5 years, she'll have spent $50,000-60,000 on vehicles she'll never own. In 5 years, my investments will have grown by multiples of what that Range Rover is even worth. Maya nodded slowly. "So you're playing a different game." "Exactly. They think I'm losing because I'm not playing their game." but I'm not even in the same stadium. I don't care about impressing people at valet stands or country clubs. I care about being financially free, and I'm already there. Wait. Already there? I hesitated. I'd never told anyone in my family the truth about my finances. I could retire today if I wanted to. I work because I enjoy consulting, because I like the projects I choose, not because I need the money. Maya stared at me. Rachel? Seriously? Seriously. But nobody knows that. And I'd appreciate it if you kept it that way. Because here's the thing, Maya. The moment they find out, everything changes. Suddenly, I'm not the embarrassing little sister anymore. Suddenly, I'm someone they need to impress. Someone they want things from. Right now, they've written me off. And honestly, that's exactly where I want to be. Maya promised to keep my secret. And for almost 3 years, she did. During those years, I watched my family continue their performance. Victoria posted her 5th lease, a Mercedes GLE this time, with a caption about manifesting abundance. Connor opened 2 more fitness studios using over-leveraged loans, turning them into backgrounds for social media content. My parents sold their Coral Gables house and downsized to a condo in Coconut Grove, though they told everyone it was because they wanted to be closer to the water, not because they needed to free up capital. And me? I kept driving my Corolla. I kept investing. I kept building. By 31, my net worth had crossed $2.4 million. I'd diversified into dividend-paying stocks, owned 4 rental properties that I managed remotely, and had consulting income that exceeded what most executives made. I worked maybe 15 hours a week. The rest of my time was mine. I'd also started dating James, a man I'd met at a tech meetup who drove a 2010 Honda Civic and somehow never cared that my car was even older. He was a software engineer, made good money, had no debt, and understood the difference between being wealthy and looking wealthy. We got engaged after 18 months. I bought myself the ring I actually wanted, a simple sapphire, not a diamond, because I'd never cared about traditions that existed to sell me things I didn't need. Victoria found out about the engagement through Maya, and immediately inserted herself into the planning. "You'll want to do it somewhere upscale," she'd said over the phone. "I can recommend some venues. Connor and I know all the best places in South Florida. Nothing too expensive, obviously, but something tasteful that photographs well. And Rachel, honey, you absolutely cannot show up to your own wedding in that car. We need to coordinate transportation." I told her James and I were planning something intimate. Just close friends and immediate family. Nothing elaborate. Oh, the disappointment in her voice was palpable. "Well, if you need help with the budget, Connor and I could contribute. I know weddings can be stressful when you're working with limitations. Limitations. That's what she called not wanting a $60,000 party. I thanked her and declined. James and I paid for our own wedding, a beautiful ceremony at Fairchild Tropical Botanic Garden that cost a fraction of what Victoria and Connor had spent on theirs, and it was perfect. Victoria posted exactly 1 photo from it on Instagram, and we weren't even centered in the frame. It was a shot of some orchids with the caption, "Lovely intimate setting for a sweet little ceremony." Sweet. Little. Ceremony. I saved that post too. The folder was getting substantial. The text message came on a Wednesday afternoon in June. I was at a cafe, reviewing a client proposal, when my phone buzzed. It was from Maya. "Your mom is at the Porsche dealership on Biscayne. Victoria's there too. Mom's trading in her BMW for something new and asked me to meet her, but I'm stuck in a presentation. Can you go? She hates negotiating alone and Dad's playing golf." I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I looked at the time. 2:35 p.m. I had no other obligations, and I'd been thinking about something for a while now. Maybe it was time. "Which dealership exactly?" I texted back. "Porsche of Miami, the fancy one. You know it?" Did I know it? I'd been in email contact with their VIP client manager for 4 weeks. "I'll head over," I typed. "Tell her I'm on the way." What I didn't tell Maya, what I didn't tell anyone, was that I had an appointment at that same dealership at 4 p.m. An appointment to pick up a car I'd custom ordered 10 weeks ago. A car I'd paid for in full. a car that was currently sitting in their private delivery bay with my name on it. I drove my Corolla to Porsche of Miami, probably for the last time. The dealership was stunning, all glass and limestone and that particular kind of minimalist luxury that whispered rather than shouted. I parked in the visitor area, far from the main entrance where my car wouldn't draw attention. Inside, the showroom floor was breathtaking. New Porsches gleamed under perfect lighting. Sales consultants in fitted suits moved like dancers between clients. The air smelled like leather and possibility. I found my mother first. She was in a seating area near the back, scrolling through brochures, wearing that slightly anxious expression she always got when spending significant money. Victoria was next to her, checking her phone, her Range Rover key fob sitting on the table like a trophy. "Rachel!" My mother stood up, surprised but relieved. "Maya said you were coming." "Thank you, sweetheart. You know I hate doing these negotiations alone." "Where's Dad?" "Golf tournament. He won't be done until evening." She gestured to the brochures. "I'm looking at the McCann. Very practical. But the salesman keeps pushing me toward options I don't need." "Which salesman?" "Steven. He's with another client right now. Should be back in 15 minutes. Victoria finally looked up from her phone. Her eyes swept over me, taking in my jeans and simple blouse, the same casual style I always wore. I could see the judgment, the slight embarrassment at my presence in this polished environment. "Rachel, you came straight from wherever you work now?" She said it like a question, but it was an assessment. "A cafe. I was reviewing a client proposal." "Right. Consulting." The air quotes were invisible but audible. "Well, thanks for coming, I guess. Though I'm not sure how much help you'll be with luxury car negotiations. No offense, but your expertise is probably more economy level." "None taken." We sat down. The waiting stretched. My mother made small talk about the McCann's features, debating between colors. Victoria interjected with opinions about trim packages and wheel options. I stayed quiet, checking my watch. 3:51 p.m. At 3:54 p.m., a different person approached our area. Not Steven. This was Alexandra Torres, the VIP client manager I'd been corresponding with. She walked directly to me. "Ms. Morgan?" She extended her hand with a warm, professional smile. "Alexandra Torres. We've been emailing. Your vehicle arrived yesterday and passed final inspection this morning. If you'll follow me, we can complete the delivery process." The seating area went completely silent. My mother looked confused. Victoria's expression shifted from confusion to suspicion in about 3 seconds. "I think there's been a mistake," Victoria said, her voice taking on that condescending tone she used with service workers. "We're waiting for Steven. We're here about a McCann." Alexandra smiled politely. "Yes, ma'am. Steven will be with you shortly for that. But I'm here for Ms. Morgan's delivery. Ms. Rachel Morgan, correct?" She looked at me. "That's me," I said, standing up. Victoria stood up too. "Rachel, what is she talking about? Your delivery?" "My car is ready. I ordered it a few months ago. Today's the pickup day." My mother blinked rapidly. "You ordered a car? What kind of car? A used Corolla?" "No," Alexandra interjected with perfect professionalism. "Ms. Morgan custom ordered a new vehicle. It arrived from Germany last week. If you'll follow me, we can go upstairs to the VIP lounge and finalize everything." Victoria's laugh was sharp, almost panicked. "Rachel, did you lease something? Please tell me you didn't get in over your head trying to keep up with—" "I didn't lease anything," I said calmly. Alexandra maintained her composure beautifully. "Ms. Morgan paid in full. Wire transfer. No financing. Now if you'll come with me, we have champagne waiting and can review the final delivery checklist. The VIP lounge. The one on the second floor with the private elevator and the Miami skyline view. The one reserved for 6-figure purchases. Wait." Victoria's voice had gone up half an octave. "Rachel, what kind of car did you buy?" "A Porsche," I said simply. "Alexandra, I'm ready." I started walking. Alexandra walked beside me, heels clicking on the polished floor. Behind me, I heard the rapid clack of Victoria's designer heels on marble. Rachel, stop." Victoria caught up, my mother trailing behind. What is happening right now? What kind of Porsche? We reached the elevator. Alexandra pressed the button. The doors opened immediately. The 911 Turbo S, Alexandra said pleasantly, gesturing for me to enter. Guards red with full leather interior. Carbon ceramic brakes. Sport chrono package. We don't see many women ordering the Turbo S. It's quite special. Victoria had gone pale. The Turbo S. That's a $230,000 car. Before customization. Alexandra corrected gently. Ms. Morgan's final purchase price was $248,000, but as I mentioned, paid in full. The elevator doors started to close. Victoria stuck her hand out to stop them. You paid $248,000, cash, for a car. Her voice was barely audible. Yes, I said. How? It came out like an accusation. The same way most people buy expensive things, Victoria. I saved money. The doors closed. Through the glass elevator, I could see the showroom floor below. I could see my mother standing frozen near the seating area. I could see Victoria, still at the elevator bank, her face a mixture of shock and something that looked a lot like anger. The VIP lounge was everything you'd expect from a $250,000 purchase. Leather furniture, contemporary art, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Biscayne Bay, a champagne bucket with actual Veuve Clicquot, and there, visible through the windows that looked down into the delivery bay, my car sat under studio lighting, guards' red paint so vivid it looked like it was glowing, the Turbo S badge catching the light. Stunning choice, Alexandra said, pouring champagne. One of the most exciting deliveries we've had this quarter. You have excellent taste. Thank you, I said, but I was still processing what had just happened downstairs. Alexandra smiled knowingly. Family surprised by the purchase? Something like that. Happens more than you'd think. Had a client last year, young woman drove up in an old Camry. Her sister was here looking at a used Cayenne. Client ended up buying a Turbo S cabriolet, paid cash, while the sister watched. Some people prefer to fly under the radar until the right moment. We spent the next 30 minutes on paperwork. The delivery documentation. The features overview. The warranty details. Alexandra explained everything with the kind of attention that makes premium service feel earned. One last thing, she said, handing me the key. Your trade-in. The Corolla in the visitor lot is registered to you, correct? We can handle the paperwork and either auction it, or you can donate it for a tax write-off. I thought about that Corolla. 198,000 miles. Faded silver paint. Lavender air freshener. That car had carried me through 9 years of building wealth. It had been there for every milestone Victoria had mocked, every moment my family had judged me for not keeping up. No trade-in, I said. I'm keeping it. Alexandra raised an eyebrow but didn't question it. Understood. Some clients do keep a secondary vehicle. We shook hands. She gave me the key fob, solid and perfectly weighted in my palm. Then she walked me down to the delivery bay where my 911 sat waiting. The car was flawless. Everything I'd specified. Every detail perfect. Alexandra went through the exterior inspection, then opened the driver's door. Would you like a moment alone before we take delivery photos? Actually, I said, I need to make a quick call first. Is there somewhere private? Of course. Take your time. I'll be in my office when you're ready. I pulled out my phone and texted Maya. Mission accomplished, about to drive out. Where's Mom and Victoria? Her response came immediately. Still downstairs. Mom looks like she's in shock. Victoria is on her phone and keeps looking at the elevator. What did you do? You'll see in about 5 minutes. I took the delivery photos alone. Me with the car, the key on the hood, interior shots. Then I got in, adjusted the seat to fit perfectly, felt the steering wheel, and pressed the start button. The sound was incredible. Not loud, but powerful, purposeful. A sound that came from German engineering excellence. I drove slowly through the delivery bay, following the marked path toward the exit. The exit led directly past the showroom floor, with its floor-to-ceiling windows that gave anyone inside a perfect view of vehicles leaving. My mother was back in the seating area. Victoria was standing near the windows, and she saw me. I watched the moment of recognition, the way her hand came to her throat, the way she fumbled for her phone, probably to confirm that yes, that was her sister, in that car. I didn't wave. I didn't smile. I just drove past at the required 5 mph, my car's red paint brilliant in the Miami sun, and pulled out onto Biscayne Boulevard. The drive home took 25 minutes. I spent most of it in silence. No music, just listening to the engine, feeling the precise steering, the immediate throttle response. This wasn't a car bought to prove something to anyone. It was a car bought because I could, because I wanted it, because I'd earned it without borrowing a single dollar. When I pulled into my apartment complex, my Corolla was parked in my assigned spot. I parked the 911 in the guest spot next to it. The contrast was absurd. But for me, both cars told the same story. Discipline. Patience. Building wealth while everyone else built appearances. My phone had been buzzing the entire drive. I finally looked at it when I got upstairs. 9 missed calls from Victoria, 4 from my mother, 15 text messages. From Victoria. Call me now. Rachel, how do you have that car? This makes no sense. Did you finance it? Do you realize how irresponsible that is? Mom is having a panic attack. From my mother. Sweetheart, please call. I'm so confused. Did Victoria upset you somehow? And one from Maya. Victoria just called me asking what you do for work and how much you make. I told her I have no idea. She is losing it. This is incredible. Please tell me someone filmed this. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I made tea, sat on my balcony, and watched the sun set over Miami. James came home around 7, saw the car in the parking lot, and came upstairs grinning. You did it. I did it. He kissed me. How do you feel? I thought about it. Good. Really good. Not because I proved anything. Just because I'm finally driving what I want, instead of strategically driving what keeps me invisible. No regrets about the Corolla? Are you kidding? That car is a legend. It's staying right where it is. He sat down next to me. So what now? Now? Now we wait and see. The family dinner invitation came 4 days later. Sunday brunch at my parents' condo. Family meeting, the text said. Important we all talk. I knew exactly what it was about. They wanted explanations. They wanted to understand how the struggling little sister who drove the ancient Corolla suddenly had money they didn't know about. They needed the story to make sense, according to their understanding of success. I almost didn't go. But James convinced me. You don't owe them anything, he said. But you also don't have to hide anymore. You spent 3 years being invisible because they made you feel small. Maybe it's time to exist on your own terms. Sunday arrived. I drove the 911. Not to show off, just because it was my car now and I wasn't going to pretend otherwise. I parked in front of the building. Victoria's Mercedes was already there, and I could see her watching from the balcony. By the time I walked to the door, the entire family was assembled in the living room. My mother, my father, Victoria and Connor, all of them looking at me like I'd grown a second head. Rachel, my mother started, her voice careful. That car downstairs. It's mine, Mom. I bought it last week. My father spoke up. He'd been quiet through most of the car drama over the years, but now his business voice was engaged. Rachel, I think we need to have a serious conversation about financial decisions. That's an extremely expensive vehicle. What's your payment structure? What are the terms? No payment structure. I paid cash. The room went silent. Cash, my father repeated. Yes, the full amount, $248,000, wired directly from my checking account. No loan. No financing, no payment plan. Victoria found her voice first. Rachel, where did you get that kind of money? Did you take out a personal loan? Max out credit cards? Because if you did, you need to return that car immediately before the interest destroys you. I didn't borrow anything, Victoria. Then where did it come from? She was angry now, not concerned, angry. You're a consultant. You live in a tiny apartment. You drove a car from 2007. Where did that money come from? I sat down on their modern gray sofa, took a breath, decided it was time. I've been investing since I graduated college. 9 years. I put the majority of my income into index funds, maxed out my retirement accounts every year, bought rental properties, lived well below my means, stayed disciplined, compounded returns. By 29, I hit my first million. By 30, I quit my full-time job because my passive income was enough to live on. Right now, my net worth is approximately $2.4 million. You could have heard a pin drop in Coconut Grove. My mother sank onto the ottoman. $2 million. Give or take, depending on the market this week. Connor was doing math in his head. Wait, if you have that much, why were you living like... He stopped, realizing how anything he said next would sound. Like I was poor. I finished for him. Because I wasn't poor, Connor. I was building wealth. Those are completely different things. You guys were spending money to look successful. I was saving money to actually be successful. Different priorities. Victoria had gone pale. But the car, the Corolla, you drove it for years. We all thought, you thought I couldn't afford better. I know. You made that extremely clear. Multiple times. In fact, I pulled out my phone, opened that folder. You posted this photo 3 years ago. I held up my screen showing her Instagram post. My Corolla next to her Range Rover. The caption, "Some people really need to learn what self-respect looks like." You mocked me in front of hundreds of people because I drove an old car. Mom laughed at it. You all assumed I was struggling, that I was the family disappointment, that I needed help getting my life together. My mother's voice was small. Rachel, we were worried about you. No, Mom. You were embarrassed by me. There's a difference. You were embarrassed that I didn't drive the right car, live in the right building, project the right image. You were embarrassed because in your world, appearance equals success, and I wasn't performing. My father stood up. That's not entirely fair. We're your family. We wanted what's best for you. Did you? Because what I remember is being treated like a charity case at holidays. I remember Victoria's Instagram posts making fun of my car. I remember Connor offering to get me a deal on an entry-level Mazda, like I was someone who needed rescuing. I remember Christmas when you all laughed at me. I remember being made to feel like the family failure when I was actually doing better financially than anyone in this room. Victoria finally exploded. How were we supposed to know? You never said anything. You just let us think. I let you think what you wanted to think. You made assumptions based on what I drove and where I lived, and I never corrected you because honestly, I didn't care what you thought. I was building the life I wanted, not the life you'd approve of. I stood up. For 9 years, I've been financially independent. I've worked when I wanted to, taken projects I found interesting, built wealth without debt, without stress, without keeping up with anyone. And through all of it, you treated me like I was failing because I wouldn't lease an SUV to impress your friends. Connor tried to salvage something. Okay, but you have to admit, perception matters. In our circles, people judge you by, I don't care about your circles, Connor. That's the entire point. I don't care if people at fitness studios judge my car. I don't care if real estate clients think I'm unsuccessful. I care about actually being free, not looking free while drowning in lease payments and mortgages you can barely afford. My mother was crying now. We never meant to make you feel bad. But you did, Mom. Every comment about my car, every suggestion that I wasn't living up to my potential, every Instagram post Victoria made mocking what I drove. You all made it crystal clear that I was the family embarrassment. I'm sorry, she whispered. I appreciate that. But here's what I need you to understand. I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need validation. I bought that car because I wanted it and could afford it, not because I needed to prove something. I'm not angry at you. I'm just done pretending that your standards have anything to do with actual success. I walked toward the door. James was waiting in the car downstairs. Rachel, wait, Victoria called out. Her voice had changed, softer, uncertain. Can we start over? I think we've all misjudged you. I turned back. You can try, but understand something. I'm not interested in suddenly being the successful sister now that you know I have money. I'm exactly who I was when I drove the Corolla. If you couldn't respect me then, I don't need your respect now. That's not fair, she said quietly. Isn't it? 4 days ago, you were lecturing me about irresponsible financing. Today, you want a fresh start because you found out I'm a millionaire. You don't want to respect me, Victoria. You want to be associated with someone you think is finally worth associating with. I opened the door. I'll see you at holidays. I'm not cutting anyone off, but I need you all to understand that I don't owe you explanations about my life, my choices, or my finances. I'm not who you thought I was, but I'm also not going to become whoever you suddenly want me to be now. The fallout was immediate and chaotic. Victoria called me 6 times that evening. I didn't answer. She left voicemails that progressed from defensive to apologetic, to confused, to angry, and back to apologetic. By Monday morning, my mother had sent a 3-paragraph text about family and misunderstandings, and how she'd always been proud of me even if she didn't show it correctly. Maya called me Tuesday. Rachel. Victoria called Mom crying yesterday. Apparently, some of her real estate friends saw your car on the dealership's Instagram. They post VIP deliveries and started asking questions. She's spiraling. About what? About everything. Her lease, her spending. Connor's been doing math on what they've spent on cars in 5 years. It's not pretty. Your situation is forcing them to look at theirs, and they hate what they see. That's not my problem, Maya. I know, but thought you should know. Also, your dad called me asking how long I've known about your financial situation. What did you tell him? That you value privacy, and I respect that. He wasn't thrilled. I drove my Corolla to a coffee shop that Wednesday. Not to prove anything, just because I could. The 911 stayed in my parking spot, and the Corolla got me to my meeting just as effectively. The car had never defined me. It never would. By Friday, an email from Victoria appeared in my inbox. Subject line: I need to say this. The message was long, emotional, more stream of consciousness than structured apology. She talked about pressure and expectations, and how seeing my Porsche made her realize she'd been measuring success all wrong. She mentioned that she and Connor were reconsidering their spending, that maybe they'd been keeping up appearances instead of building actual wealth. I didn't respond immediately. Not out of spite, but because I needed to figure out what kind of relationship was even possible now. James and I talked about it over dinner that night. Do you want a relationship with them? He asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to just be done with all of them. They only care now because I have money they didn't know about. That's probably partially true. But it's also possible this is a wake-up call. Sometimes people don't see how they've been acting until something forces them to look. So what do? You set boundaries. You decide what you'll accept. If Victoria wants to rebuild a relationship, she needs to earn it. Not by acknowledging your wealth, but by respecting your choices. Even the choices that don't make sense to her. I responded to Victoria the next morning. Brief message. Thank you for the email. I appreciate what you said, but I need you to understand something. I'm not interested in a relationship built on my bank account. If we're going to be close again, it has to be because we actually respect each other's choices, not because you now think my choices were validated by money. Think about whether that's possible. Her response came within 30 minutes. I understand. And you're right. I want to try. Really try. 7 months have passed since the dealership incident. Things with my family are still complicated, but they're evolving. Victoria and I have coffee every few weeks now. We talk about her kids, my work, life. Not about cars or money. Connor is quieter these days, maybe humbled, maybe just more aware of his assumptions. My parents are trying. My mother asks about my investment strategy sometimes, genuinely curious now instead of dismissive. My father admitted last month that he'd made unfair assumptions about my life based on surface-level observations. I still drive the Corolla most days. The 911 comes out on weekends, on coastal drives, on days when I want to feel the reward of patience. Both cars sit side by side in my parking spaces, and they tell the same story. I built wealth by being disciplined. I built freedom by not caring what people thought. And I built a life where I choose, Every day. What matters? The Instagram post is still up. I could ask Victoria to delete it, but I don't. It's a reminder. Not of the hurt, but of the lesson. The people who judge you loudest are usually the most insecure about their own choices. And the best response isn't to argue or defend. It's to keep building in silence until your life speaks for itself. Last week, a woman I met at a networking event messaged me. "I heard about your story through Maya," she wrote. "I drive a 2009 Civic, and everyone thinks I can't afford better. I'm saving to buy a house cash. Reading about what you did made me feel less alone." That message meant more than any family apology, because the point was never the car. It was never about revenge. It was about understanding that success isn't what you show people. It's what you build when no one's paying attention. So here's what I learned. You don't owe anyone explanations for living below your means. You don't owe anyone proof that you're doing fine. The right people will respect your choices even when they don't understand them. And the wrong people will only respect you when you have something they want. If you've ever been in my position, if you've ever been judged for driving an older car, living modestly, not keeping up with expectations, I want you to know something. Keep going. Keep building. Keep investing. The people laughing at your 2007 Corolla have no idea you're building wealth while they're building debt. And one day, when you choose to, you'll walk into that dealership and their faces will be worth every disciplined decision you made. Have you ever been judged by your family for your financial choices? Have you ever stayed quiet about your success because you knew people would treat you differently? Drop your story in the comments. I read everyone. And if this story resonated with you, check out the playlist in the description. I think you'll find something that speaks to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I'm Rachel, and I finally understand what it means to drive the car I want, not the car people expect.